What's up, y'all? Welcome to Tabletop Bros. Today we're going to be unboxing the Warhammer Warcry Crypt of Blood Starter Set. But before we do, just want to take a look at what we can expect from the Games Workshop website. So we see here the retail price on this is $110. And just kind of scrolling down here, get some of the details. It says everything you need to start playing Warcry, a fast-paced game of skirmish battles in the mortal realms. And it is Xandire's Truthseekers and the Crimson Court. It includes 8 plastic miniatures, making up 2 full warbands. So that is interesting. It does say it's 2 full warbands. It includes a starter book of lore, artwork, and rules, plus a battlefield mat, dice, tokens, and range ruler. And if we just scroll down here to get the basics, box set includes 72-page softcover Crypt of Blood book, 8 plastic push-fit miniatures, including Xandire's Truthseekers and the Crimson Court, and then Crypt of Blood Scenery, 6 pieces of plastic terrain, a double-sided 22 by 30 folding game board, 10 warband cards, including 2 ability cards, 4 fighter cards for the Truthseekers, and 4 fighter cards for the Crimson Court, and then 18 dice, 63 card tokens, and range ruler. Crypt of Blood is a fantastic way to start playing games of Warcry quickly with 2 balanced warbands and includes everything you need to get started. These push-fit miniatures can be assembled without glue and are supplied unpainted. We recommend using Citadel color paints. Alright, very cool. So now that we've got a pretty good idea what to expect from this box set, let's go ahead and bust it open and take a look. It was $110 USD. I was able to get a discount on that. Typical going rate in the United States is about a 15% discount, and if you order online, you can usually get it without paying tax. So it saves you about $16.50 total with that 15% discount, which puts us at $93.50. So under $100 to get started in Warcry. And the box is a little beat up, actually came this way. I did bust a seal already on it, but you can see it basically depicts what's inside. All right, and then if we take a look here, the first thing that caught me off guard, and I just literally slid this open and then slid it back shut, is that the book and board and stuff were on top. So I would think, now maybe this is supposed to be displayed like on the shelf upright, but I would think this would be like on the bottom, and then all the miniatures and everything else would be on top of that, just so nothing gets broken. But we'll just assume that Games Workshop knows what they're doing. So we just check this out here. This is just a little art print, nothing much going on there. And then here is all of the literature. All right, so if we bust this open, this is a nice little book right here. Definitely got some thickness to it. And this is Warcry Crypt of Blood book. And if we just give this a flip open here, welcome to Warcry. And just talking a little bit about the background, shows off the 2 warbands. First we have the Truthseekers, and then the Crimson Court. So it's basically the Stormcast Eternals, which are kind of like the Games Workshop Knights in the fantasy realm. And then we have the Crimson Court, which are vampires. All right, and then right off the bat, we have Learning to Play. It's going to break down all of the stuff that's in the actual set and then talk to you about starting to play. Talks a little bit about like the actual building and painting. And then to battle. And here we can see a nice picture of like everything all painted up and ready to go. All right, so this is one thing I really like about this box set. So it starts off with the Battle Plan 1, The Escape. And essentially, like what it is, it's progressive missions that help you to learn how to play the game. So right off the bat, it tells you exactly what you're going to do. You're going to pick just 2 miniatures in the set. You're going to set them up in a specific place. And then it's going to tell you like exactly where to move and everything. There's no actual like mission objectives or anything. It doesn't tell you what you have to do to win. It's just basically familiarizing you with like the actual movement and what to do. And then after that mission, you're going to go on to the next one. And I'm very familiar with this because it's the same way for Kill Team. This was one of the best things I think they did for the Kill Team starter set. And I'm very happy to see that they did it as well for Warcry. So after you beat the first mission, you're going to go on to the actual second mission. And it's basically just going to take you into the Battle Plan 2, Fangs and Fury. And then in this one, you're going to actually do some attacking. So you'll have your movement, you'll have your attacking. And then in this one, there's an actual victory condition. The first one, there's not really. It's just showing you how to move. And it says, when there's only 1 fighter left on the battlefield, the player fighter is the winner. So again, you're starting only with 2 guys, 1 for each warband. They're pretty well balanced, but obviously dice rolls are going to make the difference here. So we go through that one, and then that's going to take us on to our third battle plan, Flurry of Blows. And this time you're going to use 2 different models. And again, you're going to go through here. It's going to have a victory condition for the last surviving fighter once again. So pretty cool. And then we have the fourth battle plan, So in this one, both players are going to start with one fighter already on the battlefield, and then we're going to get to use some reserves, which is a cool part of Warcry. So again, it's sort of just building on the rules as you go through each of the battle plans. As you progress through each of the missions, you're using more and more of the rules, you're using more and more of your models, and very cool, very cool. So on to Battle Plan 5 now. So this time you're introducing multiple miniatures per side. You're getting the option to actually put your miniatures in like different groups and then how to deploy them. So this is really opening you up to like the actual game. And then Battle Plan 6, at this point in time, you are basically playing Warcry. So very, very cool. And if we just continue on through here, we'll see there's a Battle Plan 7 as well. And then that's the end of the game. So next we have the actual core rules. So this is just all of the actual core rules in this book here. So the first part is basically just a walkthrough, and you're playing through the battle plans and it's teaching the rules as you go. This is just the actual like breakdown of the rules and everything. And this is going to give you like the full comprehensive rules that you're going to actually play with. And if we just keep moving through here, it basically takes you through like all the move, all the attack, disengaging, waiting, the abilities, reactions, how the terrain works, and all the stuff that you kind of learn the basics on as you're playing through here, but now you're getting like the full scope of it. So here's the objectives and treasure tokens, essentially just explaining all of the final rules on here. And then it does talk a little bit about picking your warband, about the Bladeborn fighters, which in this case the Bladeborn are like special smaller kind of groups of fighters, and most of them have been taken from the Underworlds game and then put into this game. Which kind of brings us back to that first point where they initially said that it includes 2 full warbands, and that's just not the case. Warcry is played with 1,000 points typically, sometimes more, but you need 1,000 points to actually play like the full game of Warcry, and neither one of these warbands is 1,000 points. So it's definitely deceptive on the website when it says that it's 2 full warbands. When it talks about continuing your quest right here, it's going to talk a little bit about the core book, the compendium, warband tomes. So that's basically just opening you up to some of the other stuff that's available to expand your groups or get like new warbands. And then it specifically shows you like what would be your adjacent warband, which is the Quester Soul Swarm for the Stormcast Eternals, and then the Eskurgian True Blades for the vampires. So pretty neat. I like how this is laid out. It talks a little more about the monsters, allies, and thralls at the end here. And then at that point in time, you basically have like everything broken down for Warcry. You have a pretty good idea what you're looking at here, and you're kind of just ready to jump in like full scope. So very cool. Nice book right here. It is 73 pages front to back, and it does include all of the core rules. And when Games Workshop lays out like the core rules, that basically just means like all of the rules for the game, and then everything else can like expand on those. But the core rules are the real rules, or what I would call the full rules. So nice book right here. Cool little start. All right, so next we have the actual like assembly guide here, and this is going to come with anything you order from Games Workshop, and it basically just shows you all the numbered pieces on the sprues, how to assemble them, put them together, and then of course your terrain at the end here. And one really nice thing about this is the actual warbands are color coded. We'll get to that in just a second. Here is our token sheet. So in the token sheet, we have a bunch of different tokens. It is a double-sided token sheet. And then we'll notice here at the bottom that we have the range, and it's 1 through 6. And this is your measuring device, your ruler. So this is sort of like encompassing all of how you're going to keep track of like when guys are wounded, objective markers, reactions, and then of course like your measuring device as well. And they're all punched out, so you can just push through and they pop right out. All right, and then next we have 2 different sets of cards here. So basically, if we pull this off, we have the Xandire's Truthseekers, and on this card, it's going to basically tell you like all of your abilities for your warband. So first we have the actual reaction. That's something you can do when something prompts that reaction. So someone else does something, and then in response, you can use your reaction. You also have one for the Crimson Court as well. And then again, it shows off like your actual fighters on both. And then if we just flip that over, this is going to be your abilities. And the way the abilities work are, you're going to roll dice, and then you're going to have these dice at the beginning of each turn that you can spend on special abilities throughout the turn. So pretty cool overall. You have your doubles, you have your triples, and then you also have quads as well. Neither one of these has any quads on them, which are like the most powerful abilities. But you can use like the generic ones from the book. And then also if you do build onto these warbands, you'll have access to them as well. And then, of course, for the Crimson Court, same thing. We just flip that over here. So just going through here, the one thing that I did notice right off the bat is These appear to just be like generic kind of abilities. Now, they definitely like focus on the actual warbands in the set, but for instance, I noticed the triple summon undead minions. You pick a friendly fighter with the minion ruin mark has been taken down, set that fighter up on a platform or battlefield floor wholly within 3 of this fighter. This fighter no longer counts as being taken down and has no damage points allocated to it. So one cool thing about Warcry is it's very simple. You basically just have like symbols and numbers that tell you like how many attacks you have, how many wounds you have, your toughness, all that stuff. It tells you like what your actual like classifications are. So when you go over here to actually use this, you see, okay, anybody with this can use that double right there. Anybody with that same ruin mark, and then also this one can use this next double right here. So he has access to that. And then anybody that has access to this and this, which he does not. So he's not able to use that one. If we go to like some of the other ones here, we'll see neither of them can. So we'll see that actually like nobody in this warband has access to that ability for the summon undead minions, which is a little bit strange, honestly. We can see here with like the thirst for blood, this one has access to that. So I just thought it was kind of weird that one of the abilities right off the bat you can't even use with this warband. And also it says they're full warbands, but obviously they're not, which is fine. You're going to want to expand on this. Most of your warbands are going to be like at least 5, sometimes up to like 15 models. But it was just interesting that this appears to be just like generic setup, not really like built for this set. But that being said, if we do take a look at the actual cards in the set here, we'll see the points for each model. We see their move, we see their toughness, and then we see their wounds. We see like their little ruin mark classifications, which is going to tell you like what abilities and what warband you're part of. And then we'll see here is like your attacks. So in this case, you have a range of 1. You have 4 attacks at that range of 1. Your strength of those attacks is 3. And then if you hit, you're going to do 1 damage. If you crit, you're going to do 4 damage. And then if we add up all the points right here, we said earlier that 1,000 points is pretty typical for a warband. It's 120 plus 105. So that's 225 plus 130. That is 355 plus 210 is 565. So 565 points, definitely not 1,000, definitely not a full warband. And then for Xandire's Truthseekers, again, you're going to get 4 models. We have 210, 165, that's 375, 545, and then 660 total. So again, not a full 1,000 points. So a little bit deceptive in the description. I would rather it just says like 4 starter warbands, not 4 full warbands. So there's no surprises as to what you're getting in the set. All right, and then moving on, we have our battle mat. So this is like the cheap kind of fold out like paper battle mat. Now it doesn't mean that they're not good and everything, but the fact of the matter is it's not like a full board like the stronger, more durable boards that you're going to get, but it is the full size, which is very unfortunate because this is a really cool battle mat. It is the full size of like the play area that I have right here. And if we flip it over, it has like a completely separate design on the back. Very cool. Definitely a fan of this. I do wish it would have been like an actual board rather than just like the fold out gaming mat. Just so right off the bat you have like a full board and then you can build onto that and you don't feel like you are gonna have to buy like another set to get a board. But they are pretty heavy, they are pretty bulky, so I can understand why they went this route. I just don't necessarily love it. So if we just keep going through here, next we have our terrain. So this is the terrain you're going to get in the set. It is just 1 sprue. It's pretty heavy. And this stuff is like definitely like thick and durable terrain. And we see right off the bat that this wall piece doesn't need any assembly. This wall piece doesn't need any assembly. And then we have 2 of these like spiky kind of like fence pieces. No assembly for them as well. And then we have the actual like sarcophagus right here, which is a few pieces you have to put together. And then we have the statue as well, which is a few pieces to put together. So the majority of this, like 4 of the 6 pieces, take no assembly. But one thing I did notice about this that I hate to see is, especially for like $100 starter set that's meant for new people, this is a brand new sprue. This is a brand new set. This has never been featured anywhere else before. And the first thing you're going to do is basically just clip this stuff off the sprue. And when you do, you're going to notice almost immediately, like you'll clip off the little bits right here. But there are pretty bad mold lines on this. I don't know if you can really see it that well. Probably not. But it's enough that like specifically when you go to paint this up, if you don't clean off these mold lines, it's going to be very evident that you didn't prepare this correctly before you play. So typically with a nice kit from Games Workshop, specifically a brand new set like this, you're not going to see mold lines on stuff. A lot of times the mold lines come from like older, worn out sets or like lower quality like miniature companies. And what it is, it's a two-piece mold. So when the mold has a bottom and a top and they sandwich together, there's like a tiny little line that is left behind in between those pieces if the molds don't like completely seat correctly. And again, usually you see that with like a worn out old mold. You don't see it with like a brand new set. So very disappointed to see that on this, specifically a starter set, where most people aren't going to know to like clean your mold lines. It doesn't include like clippers or mold line remover or anything like that. But I do recommend you take the time and like you appropriately like clean off all these things. And a matter of fact, while we're here, let's go ahead and do that just so you can see what I mean. So we're just going to use some of these generic clippers. We're just going to go through. You're going to keep your like flat end close to the item and just go through and clip it off as close as possible. And then once you do, you basically just have your terrain piece and that's it. You're all ready to go. But before you actually like want to paint this and everything, what you want to do is go through and like clean off the burrs. So in this case here, we can see where we just clip those off, and essentially you're just going to run like your blade just gently along the sides. Be very careful. You're not going to cut yourself. You can obviously cut away from yourself. You can run your razor like sideways across it, and you're just trying to take that away so that when you actually paint this up, it's not going to leave anything behind that's evident. And then this is what I was talking about here. So we can see the little burr where we clipped it off of the sprue. And so we want to go ahead and just like gently kind of take that off and take off the other one right here as well. And then we just run our blade along the side and just kind of clean that up a little bit. And then we're going to end up with basically like a nice smooth surface. So when we do prime it, it's not going to leave anything behind. But this is what I mean right here. On the actual like seam, you can see a line left behind. It's not as bad on the corner, but here we can see very, very clearly. And if we were to just paint this up, this line right here would be very evident. So we can use like a mold remover tool, or we can just gently run our blade across that and just kind of remove that mold line. And it's maybe not like a huge deal with terrain because most people aren't going to be like inspecting it like real closely. But with your actual models, you definitely want to make sure to clean that up, or it's going to be evident on your finished product and it's just never going to be like fixable once you've already painted it. So not a huge deal, and this is a beginner product, so probably most beginners aren't going to really be worried about it. But for me, somebody that's been playing for a while, the last thing I want to see somebody do is not clean off those mold lines or like have those mold lines on what amounts to like a brand new starter set. Because typically we're going to find that with like lower quality stuff or like old beat up like worn out molds, not something brand new that just came out. So a little bit of a disappointment there, not to be nitpicking. All right, and the next we have our dice. There are 16 dice in this set. They're just little like 12 millimeter dice, nothing fancy, just generic dice. Enough to play the game with though, so that is good. All right, and then we see our two warbands here, which are pretty nice. So there's a couple really cool things about these warbands in specific. So we see obviously that they have the 4 bases and they're all already textured bases. So you won't need to worry about like actually like texturing your bases. They're already like set up perfectly right out of the box, which is cool. These are also fully push fit miniatures, so they don't have like any options for like posability or anything like that, often referred to as like easy to build models. But once you clip them off here and everything, you don't actually even need any glue to assemble them. Everything just pushes right into place and fits perfectly. So that is definitely cool, and these are some really nice miniatures. I definitely like the sculpts on these, and the fact that they're color coded, so like all the vampires are red and all the Stormcast are blue, means that right out of the box you don't really need to like paint them immediately, and you're going to be able to play your games, easily distinguish whose models are which. And because everything's push fit, it's not going to take you long to put these together. The terrain is pretty simple, and 4 of the 6 pieces don't have any assembly. So in all reality, I think basically like box to actual playing, especially if you have 2 people, one putting together each warband, you could easily be playing the game within like 15 minutes to an hour. So that is pretty awesome. It's not going to take you like hours to set everything up and build it and paint it and all that stuff. And the first mission is teaching you how to play, so you don't even have to like start reading the rules. You literally read them and play as you go. So very cool, very cool. Definitely a fan of the vampires here. All right, and then we have Xandire's Truthseekers. So again, we see 3 large bases, and then we have 1 small one this time, but they are all textured. The small one is for like your little bird buddy, and then you have like 3 of the Stormcast Knights. Again, really nice models, very good quality, lots of detail, and they're easy to build. They're all push fit. So again, you're gonna be on the table in no time, and the color coding is really, really nice as well. Okay, so how about some final thoughts here? So final thoughts, I've got to say that this is a really nice set. It's a little bit pricey, over $100, but with the discount, you can get playing for under $100. So that is definitely nice. It is 2 warbands, so 2 players could basically split this, and you're in for like about $50 a piece. I don't like that it's misrepresented on Games Workshop's website because it says 2 full warbands. I would rather they just said 2 starter warbands or 2 entry-level warbands or even just 2 warbands. I don't think they should say 2 full warbands because that's just not true. So nice miniatures, and these are very nice quality. We don't see the same issue with the mold lines as well on these, so that is really nice. As far as the dice are concerned, these are just your basic dice, nothing fancy right here. Games Workshop does make some really nice Warcry dice. It would have been cool to see a set of them in here, but probably would have like increased the cost a bit. So I see why they went with just the basic dice. So I think the terrain is somewhere where I definitely have a gripe. Seeing this brand new set of like really nice terrain and then seeing all the mold lines like very, very evident on this stuff is definitely disappointing. So if you're going to go through and just put everything together, you're going to be fine right off the bat. But prior to painting it, I really think you should spend the time, go through with either a mold line remover or like a razor blade just very carefully and just scratch off all of those mold lines. Just because once you do start painting it, you can't really get the mold lines off, and they're going to be even more evident once they're painted. So there's no hiding it and there's no going back. So just take the time in the beginning and properly prep the terrain and you won't regret it. So now seeing how everything was packed in here, the book and all the heavier stuff on top caught me off guard at first, but nothing was broken, even though the box was kind of beat up when I got it. So no problems there. And it does come with everything you need to play. The only thing I noticed about the actual like warbands or rules was that special ability to summon like minions, and there's no actual minions in the set. But I'm assuming these were just like generic cards to go with the warbands. And maybe initially there was going to be more models in the set. Maybe they just didn't notice that. It snuck right by them. I'm really not sure. The token sheet in this set is unique. We've never seen this token sheet anywhere else. And it does have that range built into it, which is pretty cool. It has all of the tokens you'll need to play the full game. So that is nice. The assembly guide is super short, super easy to follow. And the book itself is pretty nice as well. The main difference between the Kill Team set and the Warcry set is the Kill Team set has 2 different books in it. It has like the full core rulebook, which is a smaller size rulebook. It's like about a 9" by 7 instead of like a full like 11 by 9 or whatever this is. And then it comes with a separate, much smaller book that's like your entry like starter guide. So this kind of combines the 2 books into one, which isn't bad. But it is nice with the Kill Team set to have that separate book, because once you're done playing like the starter missions and everything, you no longer need the big book and you just have the small book. It's much more portable and it's really nice to actually have. Even experienced players like to have the smaller version of the rulebook because it has all the rules. It's just not as big for like moving around, transporting, etc. So I think that's my final thoughts on the game. So the 3 main issues I have or complaints with this set is 1, it should have been under $100 in my opinion. 2, it's slightly misrepresented because it says that it's 2 full warbands and it's not. And 3, for a brand new mold, a brand new set of terrain that's never been anywhere else, there's no excuse for there to be this much mold lines. Now it is possible that mine is just particularly bad and the other ones don't have this bad of mold lines. I just got like unlucky. That is always a possibility. But based on this sample of 1 that I have in front of me, it's definitely an issue. So as far as rating the actual Crypt of Blood Warcry Starter Set, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 for including everything you need to play. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 on the price. Games Workshop stuff is pricey in general, but it should have been under $100. And then actual quality of everything in the set, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because the push fit miniatures are really nice quality. The tokens, the book, everything is really nice quality. But the board is just one of the like cheap kind of paper boards. I noticed the vampire card has rules in it that don't apply to this actual set. So it feels like a little bit generic. And then, of course, the mold line issue as well. So that's going to be it for the unboxing today for the Warcry Crypt of Blood Starter Set. I'm going to go ahead and put all this together and paint it up. And then we'll play through some of the missions. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments. I'd be glad to make some videos on that for you. And if you did get anything out of this video, if you enjoyed it, learned something, or you're thinking about picking up this product, or maybe you're not after watching this video, hopefully I've earned your subscription. But that's it for the Tabletop Bros.